Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Dom. And now you're supposed to say hello as well, Lou. Oh my god, she just missed her cue. That's very funny. Yeah, so my name is
Hello.
Dom. Yes, hello, Lou. Did I wake you up? Fantastic. Now, it is Friday the 13th.
Oh, spooky.
Yeah, and I thought, why not dedicate today's show to Friday the 13th? And we're going to talk about a couple of things that you might not know about Friday the 13th, which is apparently the most dreaded date of the year. A lot of superstition going on there. Now, let's see what we know about this particular date. Now, there is actually a scientific term for the fear of Friday the 13th. And our Lou is actually going to pronounce this really difficult to pronounce technical term. And I'm actually giving her the word right now, and she's going to now pronounce that word for us. Please brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be
Phobia.
Okay, just in case you
What
didn't
is
quite
this?
get that, the fear of Friday the 13th is very difficult to spell in technical terms. I'm gonna try myself. It's called parascavedecatriaphobia. I think that wasn't too bad. Okay, so this is really the scientific term for this particular fear. That was our first interesting fact. By the way, we have 9. Yeah, I didn't quite make it to 10, but we have 9. Number 2. This is really interesting. I never really thought about this so much. Any month that begins on a Sunday will have a Friday the 13th. Always like that, because obviously if you go 2 weeks ahead, it will be Sunday the 15th. Wait 2 days back, it's Friday the 13th. Very interesting. When I prepared the show yesterday, I had another really interesting observation. There can never be 2 Friday the 13th in any month. I know. This is really silly. I was just thinking about, hey, how many Saturdays or any day can you have in a really long month with like 31 days, and maybe you can have like 5 Saturdays, but. Just to let you know, you can only have 1 Friday the 13th. I didn't know why I was thinking about that yesterday. Anyway, number 3. Very few people, not surprisingly, are not prepared to marry on that particular day. Okay? Interestingly, in 1913, a pastor in Middletown, New Jersey, had enough of this superstitious behavior, and he offered to marry couples free on that particular day, because this is the day where who gets married on? Even I wouldn't do that, although I'm not superstitious at all. I don't believe in these kind of things. But why would you have to, marry on that day? And I think that probably applies to loads of things, where people don't do anything specific on that particular day. So marriages are usually down on that particular day. Number 4, very interestingly, classical music. Rossini, the composer, he regarded Friday as an unlucky day and 13 as an unlucky number, like many people do. And really ironically, he actually died on Friday, November the 13th in 1868. I didn't actually check what he died of, but that's really... he hated that particular date, and then he actually died on that particular day. I hope it was an accident. We should research that actually and let you know in a future episode.
But in a way, I understand why he didn't like that date. Maybe he knew that.
Maybe he already had some kind of idea of when, had some idea of about dying, in the future. Maybe, possibly. Number 5, this is interesting. There's a scientific survey that was carried out in Asheville, North Carolina, and I think that was like sometime in the early 2000s, and they found that about 17 to 21 million people in the United States are affected by Friday the 13th. So they don't actually do, like I said before, not anything special. They wouldn't go on flights. And some of them, really extreme. Some people are really crippled by this kind of fear. They won't even go out of bed. They're so worried about things going wrong.
That's too much.
That's quite intense, you see. Similarly, there's another piece of research. That's our number 6, I think, yeah. Researchers in 1993 found out that on this particular day, fewer people were actually on the road in their cars for that particular reason, because they didn't want to be on the road on the Friday the 13th. However, there were still more accidents, even though there were fewer vehicles. So people still crashed. Obviously being. That's the thing, if you think that something is going to happen really bad, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're very worried about this particular date, not only are you going to remember things, or make sense of things, so when things go wrong on that particular day, of course it went wrong because it's Friday the 13th, and they will remember this quite clearly. But I think you're also setting yourself up to this kind of thing, that, if you think, oh my God, I think something is going to happen, like a self-fulfilling prophecy, it's then actually going to happen because you really psych yourself up to this kind of thing. Good. Our next interesting fact, and that actually addresses the issue of why is it actually Friday the 13th? That is such a terrible date, this comes actually from a Scandinavian myth, a Norse myth, in which 12 gods were having a feast in Valhalla. Okay, and the very cheeky Loki, a lot of people will know this particular character from the Marvel comics. He crashed the party as the uninvited 13th guest. So there were actually only 12 gods, but he crashed the party as being the number 13. And he arranged for Hod, and this is the blind god of darkness, to shoot Baldur, which is the god of joy and gladness, with a poison-tipped arrow. And Baldur was obviously killed because the other god was blind. And Earth was plunged into darkness and mourning as a result of that. So there is some kind of idea this might be, to do with the Scandinavian myth about these 12 gods having a party, and Loki crashed that one, So it might be something about that. There are other people. Obviously, there's loads of theories around where this is coming from. The Friday the 13th. Another theory is actually saying that this comes directly from the Bible. Okay, 13 ate at the Last Supper, with Jesus Christ. This is very iconic image by Leonardo da Vinci. We see the Last Supper, and so the number was seen as unlucky because Christ was crucified the next day. And obviously died from that, as we all know. But it was against, this. The number of 13 people eating, and this is like a bad omen, similar to the Scandinavian myth of 13 gods, so some people that it can be related back to that. The last interesting fact that I found, let me just quickly think whether I missed anything. No. In 1908, so early 20th century, a senator from Oklahoma also had, totally enough of this superstitious behavior by many people. And he introduced 13 bills on Friday the 13th. Just, so to defy superstitions. And I'm not going to have anything. It's not going to, this particular day doesn't do anything than any other day. Okay, so I'm going to just pass 13 pieces of legislation on this particular day. Just to tell people, don't be scared. This is just ludicrous. It's a lot of balls. Yeah, so these were our, list of interesting facts about Friday the 13th. Anyone in particular, Lou, that you enjoyed, that you didn't know, or did you find really, really nice or interesting?
There's a Scandinavian story, and also from the Bible.
Yeah. So that people think that's, dating back to this kind of these kind of events. My favorite part of this was actually you trying to pronounce the word, the technical term for Friday the 13th. That was actually quite scary.